This is a blender, a popular kitchen appliance with a container and a rotating blade powered by an electric motor. And this is a food processor, which is also a popular kitchen appliance with a container and rotating blade powered by an electric motor. Both the blender and food processor have become indispensable in the kitchen, making quick and easy work of once arduous tasks. But do you really need both of these machines? And even if you do own both, what should you use them for? In this video, we'll compare the blender to the food processor, evaluate which cooking tasks each excels at, and we'll also discuss where each one falls short compared to the other. I'll also reveal my secret to buying a high-quality blender or food processor for a fraction of the price new, and share some recipes that you can make with either of these essential kitchen appliances. So, let's get cooking. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And yeah, you can definitely be a better cook with either a blender or a food processor. These are pretty much essential in any home kitchen where you're doing some serious cooking, and maybe even if you're just getting started cooking, these can really up your game. So whether you have one or both of these in your kitchen, or perhaps you are just shopping for one, we are going to compare the blender and the food processor today. But before we get to their differences, let's talk about their similarities because, of course, they do have quite a bit in common. So of course, like I mentioned in that intro, both of these operate on a very similar principle. They each have a blade that is attached to a base with a motor, and that blade rotates to process food. And when I say process, I'm not talking about like processed foods you see in the store, but I mean change food. Change food from one form to the other, making perhaps bigger chunks smaller, or taking a solid food and turning it into a liquid. Each of these machines also have a pulse function for quick starts and stops, and both have tops with openings that allow food to be added while the blade is spinning. You can find blenders and food processors from several different brands and several different sizes as well. Cost also vary widely, everything from really cheap to, well, hundreds of dollars. Both of these types of appliances have also been around a long time. I'm talking decades. So of course there's a wide choice of new ones, but there's also a really wide choice of vintage ones as well. And here's where I'll share a secret for buying a high quality machine at a fraction of the price if you're in the market for one. And that's by buying one used. If you watch this channel a lot, you know that I am an avid thrift store shopper and I buy a lot of high quality, sometimes vintage appliances in great condition for a fraction of the price. While I did buy this Vitamix new, for example, well, this Cuisinart food processor I bought at the Goodwill and I only paid, I don't know, maybe $15 for it. And well, this thing is built like a tank and still works really, really well to this day. If you're shopping for a blender or a food processor, I really do recommend buying a high quality one. Look, I know those cheap $20 appliances are alluring, but they're probably not going to hold up for the long run, especially if you use them a lot. So whether you buy new or used, invest what you can, because these really are investments in your kitchen and in your cooking. And if you're just kind of, maybe testing the waters of these, go to your local thrift store and buy the best one you can. If it's held up for decades like this one, well, it's probably going to keep running for you. Okay, let's start with blenders. And by the way, of these three blenders that I have, I only bought this one new, the Vitamix. I bought this old KitchenAid at the thrift store, and I even found this Blendtec at the thrift store as well. I think I only paid $35 for this Blendtec, which was actually a screaming deal because these usually are a few $100s. But anyways, compared to food processors, blenders are older. They go back about 100 years. They were first introduced in the 1920s, and they really started to become popular in the 1930s and the 1940s. So these things have been around a long time, and they have a solid history. Now, newsflash, blenders really excel at blending, especially when we're talking about foods that are liquid or liquid in nature. If you've ever made a smoothie, shake, or margarita, you know this. In fact, making one of those drinks might be the only reason you have a blender or want to buy one. Blenders also do a great job of crushing ice versus a food processor, and you'll notice that they are a different design. Their canister is taller and narrower, and they often have a higher capacity than the flatter, squatter containers of food processors. You also get more choice when it comes to the material of the container in a blender versus a food processor. While you can get a metal container on a very expensive commercial food processor, just about every one made for home use has a plastic container. But with a blender, you have a choice of plastic, glass, or metal. This can also make it easier to clean up, especially if you often blend foods that stain, such as that tomato-based gazpacho soup or salsa we made previously. There's other pros and cons when it comes to the design of the blender container versus a food processor. So for example, with a blender, you just lift it on or off, it's super easy. But with a food processor, if you've ever used one, you know that they can be a bit finicky to get on correctly. And of course, with a blender, it's easy to just pour out liquid foods. They often have a spout, and it's just really easy to get stuff out. Now that pourability and tall, narrow design of the blender canister can make pouring liquid foods, well, really easy. And we know that from the smoothie that we made on a prior episode. But if you've got something more viscous, such as the mayonnaise that we made in a blender, well, even earlier, you know that that can be a challenge to get out of that deep well. Another potential advantage that blenders have over food processors is that they have multiple speeds. So while a food processor usually is just on or off, blenders, they can have 10 speeds or even variable speeds such as this Vitamix. And heck, this Blendtec has its own programs, so they're designed to make smoothies or soups or what have you. All you have to do is press a button. You don't get that in a food processor. Now, while blenders excel at whirring up liquid foods, they can be used for dry ingredients to great effect. For example, you can whir up some breadcrumbs in a blender, or you can even pulverize grains, like what we did when we made homemade gruel by pulverizing both rice and oats. But if you want to, say, grind up meat, well, a blender isn't going to be the tool for you. But blenders can be used in some pretty special ways. So for example, with a high-powered model, you can actually use it to make and heat up soup. If you just keep it whirring, the friction of the blades gets so hot in contact with the ingredients that it actually cooks the food, which is pretty incredible. Now, when it comes to these upright blenders, there's two main types. There's your standard blender like this KitchenAid model with variable speeds, and then there's what's called high-speed blenders like this Blendtec and this Vitamix. And they're called high-speed because, well, they're really, really high speed. So a blender in general has higher blade speed than a food processor, but these guys, well, they take it to another level. Now, there is a third type of blender that I should mention, which is one of these. And this is an immersion blender, but I think this deserves its own episode. Okay, let's talk food processor. And newsflash, food processors excel at processing food. What does that mean? Well, let's get into it, but first a little bit of history. The first modern food processor was the Robo-Coup, and that was created in 1963 by Pierre Verdun, a French inventor who aimed his device at the restaurant business. I first encountered a Robo-Coup in culinary school, and of course I had no idea what it was or how to say the name. I thought it was Robot Coupe, but it's not. But anyways, in the 1970s, Cuisinart came along, kind of a derivative of the French Robo-Coup, and it entered US households and was an immediate success. And it was also really expensive for its day. It cost about $160 at the time, which would be about $800 today. So if you think food processors are expensive today, well, try buying one in the 1970s. Now, of course, there are a lot of different brands today, but Cuisinart, well, that's almost synonymous with food processors, kind of like KitchenAid is nearly synonymous with stand mixers. Now, as for parts, food processors are a little more involved than your basic blender. So, for example, you have your base here with the motor, but you also have the canister system. And you have your main portion, this is where the food goes, and you also have this upper portion, and this is where you put the food through. And there's also this guy. This is a food pusher, but, well, it also has a secret function that I'll reveal in just a moment. Now, as I mentioned earlier, as far as speeds go, food processors are simpler than blenders. On most of them, there's just an on, off, and pulse mode. What really separates a food processor from a blender is its ability to transform foods both wet and dry. So where blenders excel at doing liquefaction and things like that, with a food processor you can do a lot more to a lot of different types of food because of its blade. Or should I say blades. So while a blender just has one blade, a food processor has several, and that's what enables it to do so much. Food processors, they can do everything from cut to chop to grind to puree and more. So if you have limited hand mobility, or well, you just need to get a lot of food processed, a food processor is the tool. That's why they're absolutely essential in kitchens and commercial eateries. So let's talk about these blades for a minute. This is going to be the main blade. This is your metal blade. This is called an S blade, and this is kind of the do-it-all blade. This can do everything from chop and grind to puree. It can even knead dough. You'll also get a slicing attachment, and this, of course, slices. So it can make really fine slices, kind of take the place of a mandolin or really fine knife work. And then there's also a shredding disc, and this shreds. This would take the place of, let's say, a box grater. You could shred cheese or carrots with it. I mean, it really just might make your box grater collect dust. And then there's other attachments too. You can get larger and smaller sizes of both slicers and shredders. You can get julienne tools. There's even dough blades. So if you do a lot with dough, you can get this plastic blade that's a little bit kinder to that dough. Now, if you have a food processor or you're thinking of getting one, I know all this fuss about blades can seem a little overwhelming. And my best advice to you is just experiment, because these really can do a lot. So, for example, if you're kind of new to the food processor world, start with something really easy. You can make hummus in a food processor super easy. Basically, dump in all your ingredients and pulse or puree until you get the consistency you want. That's what we did with those food processor refried beans that we made a while back. You can also make pico de gallo in a flash with this. Or even better, start with the nut butter. Make homemade peanut butter in your food processor. It is so simple, it's so fast, and it's so good. Yeah, it really is as easy as dumping a bunch of peanuts into the food processor canister, turning it on, and just a few moments later, you have homemade peanut butter, and it's delicious. You can tailor it to whatever flavorings you want. You will want to cut larger pieces of food into smaller, similar sized chunks that they can then be fed down that chute. And of course, you have this pusher tool to push everything down. Oh, and remember that I said it has a secret function? Well, it entails this little hole at the bottom. Yeah, this isn't a mistake or, some sort of flaw in its production. This little hole allows dripping, and this is the secret to making a perfect mayonnaise. Yeah, you can make mayonnaise in a flash in a food processor, and what you do is you fill this canister up with the oil, and that allows it to drip into the food processor to create that emulsion of homemade mayonnaise. It's absolutely fantastic. Back when food processors came out in the 70s, there were entire books filled with recipes, and I just have to share this with you. I found this literally this week at the thrift shop. It's this old 1970s book, the Food Processor Cookbook, that has a ton of recipes. There's probably new books to this day, so if you're into food processors, there's a lot of ideas out there, just as there are with blenders. Of course, there are limitations of a food processor. So if you really are into your smoothies and margaritas and milkshakes, well, a food processor just doesn't excel with that because it just can't blend nearly as well as a blender. And you're probably not going to get as much of whatever you're trying to blend also because the canisters can be a little bit smaller. And of course, these don't pour as easily. It's not like, that blender canister where you can just pour things out. I will say though, because of the shape of this canister, it's a lot easier to get like kind of viscous or solid or pureed foods out of this container than it is trying to get deep into a blender's container. Now at this point you might be wondering, well, aren't there machines that do both, that they can be both a blender and a food processor? There actually are, but I've never tried them, so I don't know if they, work marvelously or because they're trying to do two things instead of one, they're just a compromise. But I hope this video helps clear up the mysteries of blenders and food processors and how they compare, and maybe can help you shop for one if you're looking for one or use one in new ways that you haven't before. But now I want to hear from you. Do you have one of these machines, and what do you cook with it? Tell me your experiences in the comments below. Okay, before we get to trivia time, a little show and tell, and we've got some interesting stuff here from Venture Pal. They reached out to see if I wanted to try some of their hydration packets, and I said sure, and they're really good. As someone who's often running or training for a half marathon, I use products like these a lot, and I gotta say this one is one of the best that I've tried, and well, you don't even need a blender to enjoy it. Simply pour this packet in a cup of cold water and you have something really, really good. A lot of interesting products from this brand. They even make a mushroom powder that you can either drink or cook with. So thanks to Venture Pal for letting me check out your products. If you want to check them out, they are offering I Want to Cook viewers a special discount. I'll put that code in the description below. So thanks to Venture Pal for letting me check out your product, and stay hydrated. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this very interesting piece of produce, and several of you knew exactly what this is. This is, of course, a bitter melon. And boy, is it bitter. Honestly, I haven't actually tried cooking with this yet, but I did try eating a piece of it, and it's bitter, all right. Should we do an episode on bitter melon? Let me know in the comments below. But congratulations to everybody who identified this as bitter melon, often found in the produce aisle of Asian markets. Okay, for this week's culinary trivia item, boy, is this an odd looking one. I'll give you a clue. It's not a UFO. We will call this a UCO, an unidentified cooking object, but I have a feeling several of you know exactly what this is. If you know what this is or you have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will of course let you know the correct answer in the next episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.